PlayStation 1 version didn't even bother with this mission, since they didn't feel like having Vicky going through the portal with Sarge. Dear God, it really feels like they were lazier with this game than the other Sarge Zeros. If it weren't for how short this game is, and some of the funny moments it has to go with it, I'd probably skip it and go straight to Omnium Air Attack. Anyway, Vicky isn't different from Sarge except for visually. Yes, she's just as physically endurant, just as fast, just as maneuverable. Almost makes me wonder why they bothered to make her a playable character. Oh, you've gotta be kidding me. The damn bug didn't even get out of its patrol pattern to go after the person who it could have easily gone after? I can't believe I'm saying this, but this means this game somehow managed to make the bugs less fearsome than the first Sarge Zeros, despite making them faster. Vicky, we don't have to move all that carefully. These are seriously the thickest wires I've ever seen. Yeesh! This is a pretty strange environment, even by this series standards. It's one thing to fight in a bathroom or on the dining room table, but inside the walls of the house? I'm sorry, but I don't really see the appeal. It really says something that as bad as this game seems, I think that Portal Runner is even worse. Where you can literally see that 3DO is having trouble with this one, you still have the sense that they're having some fun making it. It just doesn't make as much sense as the previous Sarge's Heroes. And yes, that is possible. The first game was your standard action story with some interesting little decorations. This one feels more like it was trying to experiment with various different moods, tones, and directions, not really putting them together well, and not bothering to edit the problems out. And while they tried to get it to fit together into the same continuity as the first Sarge's Heroes, you'd have to do some pretty big mental contortions for it to actually feel like the same universe. Though I have to wonder why they bothered making a PlayStation 1 port of the game if they were going to skip more than a few missions, and some of the things they pulled are downright painful, like throwing random mini-bosses into the mix. Well, at least this bug has a good sense to chase after us. Granted, we haven't gotten close enough to these bugs for them to try all that often so far, but still, that first one really didn't give a first good impression of this enemy type in the game. And this game does have more enemy variety than the first Sarge's Heroes. Sure, not a high bar to get over, but hey, this game needs as much praise as possible, considering the grief I'm probably gonna give it through the rest of this LP. The controls are smoother, even if they're strangely laid out on the controller. We don't have to face much, if any, cheap tricks, like enemies spawning out of nowhere, and there's no risk of getting frustrated by dying 19 minutes into a 20-minute mission. Though that could have been dealt with by having checkpoints instead of making the missions pretty damn short. Anyway, this mission is pretty much done. Just have to go through a small, simple obstacle course and maybe deal with a couple of more enemies. Okay, I wouldn't have thought of that as a power box. Looks more like part of the heating system to me, but then what do I know about the inside of a house's walls? It's not like I've ever just wrecked a wall for the sake of seeing what's inside and to get a better understanding of how a house works. What? Mouse hole? I don't see any mouse hole. You mean the hole on the power box? Ugh, never mind. Let's just move on.